To run a functional evaluation in Trusys, you need prompts and metrics, and that's exactly what the prompt library is for. In this video, I'll show you how to build one, add prompts, attach metrics, and link a dataset and get everything ready to run an evaluation.
Start by heading to the Prompt Library tab in the navigation. This is your central hub for organizing and reusing prompts across evaluations.
Click New Prompt Library and give it a clear name, like Medical Diagnosis Prompts. This keeps things organized as your project grows. Your library is created. Now let's add prompts to it. Click Add Prompt. It supports single prompt types, text, JSON, and conversational. Let's walk through each. Text is the most straightforward. It's a plain natural language input, like, what is the capital of France? If your AI application expects structured input, use the JSON type. You pass in a JSON object as your prompt. The Conversation Builder is for testing more complex, multi-turn interactions, and it works differently from the conversational prompt type we just saw. First, you pick as your conversation type, text for chat-based applications, or audio for voice and call-based ones. Then you start building turn by turn. For the first turn, let's type a message directly as free text like, "Hi, I've not been feeling well since this morning." For the next turn, instead of typing, we'll pull from a dataset. Select your dataset. Here we're using the patient symptoms dataset. And choose the column you want, in this case symptom_description. You can pick specific rows or the entire column. Each row becomes a separate variation of this turn. For the final turn, we'll switch to AI generation. Describe what the user wants to achieve. For example, patient wants to book an appointment, and their profile, like anxious first-time patient, unsure about severity. Trusys generates the user message dynamically from here. And just like that, you have a complete multi-turn conversation, from the opening complaint, to symptom details, to booking an appointment, flowing naturally, just like a real patient interaction. For audio conversations, you also get timing controls. Add a delay before the next turn starts, or trigger it while your application is still responding. These aren't available for text conversation. Once your prompt is created, it's time to add metrics. These tell Trusys what to evaluate in the AI's response, and with 75+ metrics to choose from, you can get very specific about what good looks like for your use case. For our medical diagnosis prompt library, a few metrics that make sense here are knowledge retention. Does it remember what the patient said earlier in the conversation, like the symptoms they described in a previous turn? Role adherence. Is it staying in its role as a medical assistant and not overstepping into making a definitive diagnosis? And conversation completeness. Did it actually address everything the patient raised before closing out? Once you're happy, hit save. And here's a time saver. If the same metrics apply to all your prompts, set them as global metrics at the library level. Example here is G-eval, a flexible metric where you define your own evaluation criteria in plain language. For a medical chatbot, it should not provide a definitive diagnosis, something you'd want enforced across every single prompt in the library. Dataset. Instead of writing one prompt per patient scenario, you write it once and let the dataset allow dynamic population of prompt variables for scalable testing. Each row becomes its own test case, so you can evaluate your medical assistant against dozens of realistic patient inputs in a single run. To create a dataset, go to the Datasets tab and click New Dataset. Trusys gives you 3 ways to create one. The first option is AI generation, useful when you don't have existing data to work with. Write instructions describing what you need. For example, generate a dataset of patient symptom descriptions for a medical diagnosis chatbot, including varying levels of severity. Then define your columns, symptom, duration, condition, medication, test_name, and so on, to match the variables in your prompts. You can link this directly to the medical diagnosis prompt library so Trusys generates data that matches the tone and context your prompts expect. Set the number of rows, up to 200, pick the language, and choose whether to save this dataset once or generate a fresh one before every evaluation run. Trusys shows you a preview of the first 5 rows so you can check the output before committing. Option 2. Upload. If you already have patient data or have curated test cases internally, just upload your CSV or zip file. Trusys parses it, shows you the columns, and lets you select which ones to include, useful if your file has columns you don't need for this evaluation. Hit upload and you're done. You can also connect a publicly available medical dataset directly from Hugging Face. Paste the dataset URL, connect it, and Trusys pulls in the schema. The actual data is only fetched when an evaluation run starts. Now let's connect a dataset to your prompt. While creating or editing a prompt, you'll see a link a dataset option right alongside your variables, anything wrapped in double curly braces. As you type a variable name, Trusys suggests matching columns from your dataset. Click to map them: symptom, duration, condition, and they're linked. You can also skip the dataset entirely and just type values directly for any variable. Or link multiple datasets in the same prompt to create more combinations. When the evaluation runs, Trusys walks through each row. One patient with chest pain for 2 days, another with a persistent headache for a week, and generates a separate test case for each one. One prompt, a full suite of realistic patient scenarios. Your prompt library is ready with prompts, metrics, and a linked dataset. To run the evaluation, head to the Functional Evaluation tab, click New Evaluation, select your connected application, pick this prompt library, and hit Run Evaluation. Trusys will execute every prompt against your application, score the responses against your metrics, and give you a full report: overall pass, fail rate, prompt by prompt results, metric scores, and the option to compare runs across different models or configurations.